We're glad to welcome someone who needs no introduction because she's already on our executive board and she's running for city council. And if she were to win, she'd be the first sitting member of the Santa Monica Democratic Club board to get elected to city council since 1979 with Dolores Press. So we're pleased to welcome Natalya Zernitskaya. Thanks for being here, Natalya.
Of course. Thank you all for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So do you want to just jump into a little introduction?
Sure. So, for those who don't know me, my name's Natalya Zernitskaya. I'm running for Santa Monica City Council. A little bit of background about myself. My family and I were Jewish refugees from the former USSR, and we were luckily able to escape in the mid 90s. And we settled in San Francisco initially. And we were very lucky that San Francisco and California in general had a lot of really strong programs to protect folks like us. I grew up in a rent controlled apartment in a union household. My family were on food stamps when I was young. I went to public schools my whole life. And I think that I am a poster child for what can happen when communities invest in their young people and put in place the types of resources and supportive programs that meet people where they are and allow them to thrive. And I've been part of the Santa Monica community for a little bit over a decade now. I've served on many a nonprofit board, including that of the Santa Monica Democratic Club. And I look forward to serving the community as a city council member.
Great. Well, really appreciated reading your questionnaire. It was very thorough and learned a lot about your platforms. But I wanted to start with asking you about the very last question. It doesn't mean I skipped to the end. I just am doing that right now. I asked about we asked what the most important topic is that was left off, and you said how we can reclaim our progressive council majority this November and regain our reputation and respect among our peers as a forward-thinking city and leader in setting policies that become a model for a nation. So I'm curious to hear about how you think we've erred in that over the last few years, and then most importantly, how, to answer your own question, how can we reclaim that mantle?
Of course. So over the past several years, I think unfortunately our council majority has veered towards issues that are what is the flavor of the day? What are people upset about today? What are the people yelling at our council meeting today? And instead of taking a step back and looking at those complaints and understanding where they came from and trying to address it in a holistic manner, we just keep trying to put band-aids on. As an example, a lot of folks are, and I say a lot of folks who go and testify at city council are upset about the syringe exchange program. But that's a county program. That's not a Santa Monica program. And if you actually take a step back, it's saving, I don't remember the exact statistic, but it is saving multiple lives every single month. It is connecting people with resources, and focusing on things like that takes away from trying to work towards our long-term goals and developing policies that actually end up being models. We have been a leader in so many progressive issues where, one of, if not the best at developing deed restricted affordable housing and putting our money where our mouths are, so to speak, in developing those types of programs that help folks. And we've gone away from that in the past several years. So I would love to bring us back to that. And how we can do it, I think we need to all be united. I think that we need to, well, we are starting early. I think that's really helpful. I think we need to have a very strong plan and a very strong process to get the word out there about how important this election is. We all know how important this election is at the federal level, but I think a lot of folks locally don't understand the gravity of how important this election is locally, because the folks who are going to be up on that dais after November, they're the folks who are going to decide where streetlights go, where stop signs go, what contracts we approve. How do we determine, X, Y, and Z within our city policies? And something else interesting that was that I noticed the other day was the council that is going to be elected this year is going to be the same council that is going to be going through the housing element process for the 7th cycle. And I don't want us to get into a situation that we did last time when our housing element was deemed non-compliant and we were subject to the builder's remedy. I don't want that to happen again. So I think it's really important for us to all get on the same page and reclaim that council majority.
Great. Anyone have the next question? Well, I'll ask another one while we're waiting. You mentioned in your questionnaire that while you were the president of the League of Women Voters, that you persuaded them to take positions that uplifted democratic values. Can you give a few examples of when you did that?
Sure. So the nice thing about the league is that it's completely nonpartisan. It's all issues based, and it's all based on policy positions that are well researched, well deliberated, and people have to come to consensus on these things. So some of the kind of democratic values that I was able to hold up as the president of the League of Women Voters of Santa Monica included trying to get more different types of access to provide public input at city council meetings and trying to continue to maintain that post-COVID. We wrote a letter about that. We also we submitted a lot of comment letters on housing and homelessness issues, arguing for basically data-driven policies that were shown to work. And that actually came about because housing and homelessness have been some of my personal biggest issues of interest, not just because I've personally experienced housing instability and benefited from programs like rent control, but also because I see housing as one of the core building blocks of being able to lead a life that's fulfilling. If you don't have a home, how can you be expected to be able to take your medication, to have healthy food, to be able to go to school and not worry if you're a kid? There are all these things that come along with having safe, stable, and affordable housing that are really, really important. And I actually chaired the homelessness study committee because we had to update our homelessness position. It hadn't been updated in 30 years. And I did accidentally make the mistake of bringing binders to the first meeting. So that's why they made me chair. So that's just a lesson for y'all. Don't bring binders to the first meeting of any committee meeting, then they will make you chair. But that 1-year study, or it was supposed to be a 1-year study, turned into 3 years. And the resulting position that we came up with after those 3 long years of intense studying was actually then used by the state league to help develop a statewide housing and homelessness action policy. Parts of the language are the same. So I was able to help uplift those types of democratic values, not just at the local level, but also at the state level, which helps other leagues, down the stream, I'll say, to other cities and other jurisdictions.
Cool. All right. Well, the hands are up now. Let's go to Lynn first.
Okay, I really enjoyed reading your questionnaire, especially about how you were an immigrant and fled from Belarus at age 6. Oh my gosh, incredible. And I'm so happy that your focus is on homelessness. And I loved your statement when you said there are as many reasons for people experiencing homelessness as there are people experiencing homelessness, because every person's story is unique. There can be similarities among these experiences, but we have to remain flexible and have a menu of solutions so that we can tailor the solution to the person. And my question is, can you give some examples of what would be on that menu of solutions to get people off the street immediately?
I would be happy to. Um, I think that we need to get more housing vouchers in place. We need to work with our federal government. Obviously, this is something we can't do on our own. Um, I would love for us to lobby our federal representatives in order to get that program of housing vouchers, whichever vouchers they are. I heard a presentation from the new person that's at the housing division at the city, and she went through like 5 or 6 different types of vouchers. It was a little overwhelming. I cannot name them all unless I look at my notes and they're somewhere else. But I would love to be able to go to a situation and a program where those aren't just whoever is lucky to get it by lottery, but if you qualify, you get the voucher. I would love for us to go to a system like that. I believe that the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program is similar to that, where if you qualify, you can get assistance. You don't have to jump through a bunch of hoops or, get lucky in a lottery. So I think that would be very helpful. I think that another thing we can do is build more mental health beds here locally, because the closest ones I believe are in Torrance. And council member Terosis, when she ran 2 years ago, noted and has continued to note from the dais that a city of our size should have about 50 mental health beds for folks who are experiencing severe mental health issues. That's not to say that all people experiencing homelessness have mental health issues, but the experience of homelessness exacerbates those issues, and we need to have those solutions locally for folks who need that help. We need to have, well, we do have some really great case management. So there should be a person who is holding someone's hand every step of the way to make sure that they're aware of whatever programs and resources are available. Because I think that's the other piece of it. There are all these great programs. There are all these great resources. There are all of these great funding streams, but not everybody knows about them, and not everyone knows how to access them and take advantage of them. So having that more kind of, individualized attention, I think is going to be very helpful. And I think we just need to continue on some of the paths that we've been on of creating more diverse types of housing and being more open to different types of housing in our city, and encouraging our regional partners to do the same, because we're not going to solve this on our own. It's a regional issue. It's not like we can build a wall around Santa Monica. Not that we would ever want to. We want to be this diverse, inclusive, welcoming city. So let's do it, and let's make sure that our regional partners are as well.
Mike.
Hey, Natalia. So we twice in the last 8 years have tried to generate local resources to address keeping people housed, creating supportive housing, more affordable housing, all of those things, as well as supporting our schools, the 2 measured GSs. The first measured GS has been under assault because the city council keeps dipping into the funds there for other purposes. It now owes $36.5 million to the Housing Trust Fund, and they're looking to take more from it. The second GS was attacked politically. That didn't work. It was attacked in court. That didn't work. And now we have Cypress Equity and Madison Capital trying to fund a measure to exempt all multifamily housing in the city, including all the existing housing. So like the Shores and Douglas Emma could sell their building that's been here for 40 years without having to pay any tax to help support our schools and affordable housing. So what is your position on those two sets of problems? And with respect to the electoral one, what would you do to see that the voters of Santa Monica adopt your position?
So I did support Measure GS in 2022. I was very proud to be able to announce my support for it on the Dumb Club interview, actually 2 years ago. And I stand by that. I spoke to folks when I was canvassing to ask them to vote for it. I shared the benefits of it, and I shared, why it was so important for us to develop this local stream of funding, because we know that the state, its budget goes up and down. We don't know what we're ever going to get from it. So developing that was really important. I'm very relieved that the courts saw through those attempts to try to defang GS. And I am very opposed to the amendments as proposed. I'm opposed to these amendments that are proposed for Measure GS to exempt multifamily buildings. I think that, as you said, it would give bad actors far more opportunity to not pay their fair share that they should be paying. I have told folks not to sign the petition. I have personally told the petition sign gatherers signature gatherers who have asked me, thank you, but no, this isn't going to do what you think it's going to do. I understand you're just doing a job, but no, thank you. And I've told folks around me not to sign it as well. I actually also did reach out to the primary proponent of the amendments to ask them to pull their support, which unfortunately they did not, but I at least tried because I thought that would help kind of lessen the possibility of it even getting to the ballot. If it does get to the ballot, I will strongly oppose it. I will figure out where is the best way and where and how are the best ways to communicate the risks of it passing. The risks, and that it's actually not in alignment with our Santa Monica values. And I'll continue to canvass against it. If it does make it to the ballot, I'll include literature. I'll include information on my literature and on my website to the best of my ability to ask folks not to vote for it. And I will work with the Dem Club to help strengthen the outreach and opposing the measure if it does get to the ballot, which hopefully it doesn't. And hopefully we can focus on other things for this election.
Keith.
Oh, I'm up. I'm up. Okay, great. Hi, Natalia. How are you? It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
You had mentioned on some of the top issues of your campaign, something that sometimes gets talked about and sometimes it doesn't. And that was that small businesses are really the engine of communities and of cities, and that in particular, the city of Santa Monica sometimes can be challenging for small businesses in a variety of ways. Can you speak a little bit about, how you envision assisting small businesses moving forward, especially in light of, two very, large, world events coming to town, the World Cup as well as the Olympics? Thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. So as I mentioned in my response, permitting remains a major challenge. It's very difficult to get permits because the timing you can't ever predict. You don't know what they're going to say. I would love to move to a system where we actually have a specified timeline for when permits should be issued by if there are no issues if there are no, if there's nothing in the permit application that is a clear, no, this shouldn't be approved, we really should have a timeline. I know there's resistance to that among city staff, but that's okay. Just because something's hard doesn't mean it's not worth doing. I think we should also develop more pathways for small business owners and for folks who want to start a business but maybe can't. Something that I have been very happy to be a part of is the Wellbeing Microgrants program, which I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with, but it used to be a program of the city. And then during COVID, the city cut the Office of Wellbeing, and the Human Resources Council of the Santa Monica Bay Area ended up taking on the Civic Wellbeing Project, and with it, those microgrants. So the microgrants are a $500 grant for a particular project that somebody wants to do. And we've actually seen some folks use that as kind of startup capital to start a small business. There's a woman who actually, I believe, lives around the corner from me, who used that to start a paper flowers business. There are folks who have been doing sewing classes with it. There's really unique creative ideas, and it gives folks from underrepresented backgrounds this opportunity to try something and see if it works, if it's going to be successful, and then turn it into a business. There are folks who have been able to make small businesses from that, of making purses and and just making all of these really unique, interesting things. And I think we need to support that. I would love to be able to get more city funding for programs like that. If not specifically the microgrants program, we need to have those other kinds of pathways for local entrepreneurs. I think we should also look at how we can support existing businesses as well. And part of I think the challenge is that commercial buildings and commercial spaces are really expensive. I mean, it's real estate in Santa Monica. It's not surprising that it's really expensive, but we also know that in some places, the owners of those buildings are keeping them vacant and keeping the rents artificially high, when we know they could lower them and absolutely get somebody in there and get a business in there, contribute to a more thriving local economy and a more thriving local community. And I would love to explore the possibility of a commercial vacancy tax to incentivize those property owners to rent out those properties.
Great, thanks.
Isabel?
I love that vacancy tax idea, Natalya. So we were, we know that housing and homelessness, affordable housing, big issues in Santa Monica. You talked about some of your ideas about homelessness. So what about affordable housing? The rents, the price to buy a home is just out of sight. What can we do to create more affordable housing?
There's a lot. We can be very creative. There's a lot of things that other cities are doing. For example, Vienna. For example, I think there's a couple of other cities in California. Santa Monica is not a state. That are doing really cool things like community land trusts, and they're working towards reforms that make housing easier and cheaper to build. So this might be a little too inside baseball, but single stair reform is a really cool thing, because there's currently the building code requires that there be 2 staircases, which really limits what folks can do with buildings, and it kind of makes it a little bit more challenging to be more creative in how we're building, smaller apartment buildings. So if we have single stair reform, we can have small apartment buildings that are more naturally affordable rather than, just deed restricted affordable. I think we can utilize mixed income development, which helps in a lot of ways, especially if it's social housing. So I know there have been some social housing bills making their way through the state legislature, and I am hopeful that they pass so that we can explore how to use that locally. So those are just some of the ideas, but this is a passion of mine, but I am not an expert on every single area. So I would absolutely turn to folks who are experts in the field, maybe architects, maybe urban planners, maybe affordable housing advocates, to find out what do they want to see change. How can we implement the solutions that they've explored that are proven by data to work? We know other places have done it, so why can't we?
Mhm.
Great. Luis, did you have a question? I saw your hand was up before.
Yeah, well, I did. It was sort of answered, but I know we're getting close to time. Just my question around the, innovations and moving the city to that progressive level. You mentioned affordable housing, homelessness. I'm curious, what else you have in terms of, should you move on to win, what else is part of your platform for day one of the process?
I would absolutely love to see more of the safe streets infrastructure that we've kind of already started working on continue to be implemented, and continue to be implemented in a way that we can have a connected pedestrian and bike infrastructure. And I would also love to collaborate with our regional partners, because I don't think it should stop at the city limit. If somebody is riding a bike and they want to get out of Santa Monica, they should have a safe way to do it. And the only way we're going to achieve that is by working with our partners to develop, a plan for the whole region. It's going to require a lot of coordination. I can't, I'm not going to promise that it's going to be done in my 4 years on council, because it is really long-term planning. But I think we need to take that kind of approach to it of, even if, we don't see those benefits in our lifetimes, we need a plan for that future where we're all interconnected, where we are more sustainable, where people have the choice, if they want to and if they feel safe to, get out of their cars. We also need to improve our public transit systems. So I would love to see the Purple Line be extended to Santa Monica. I don't know whether or not that's going to happen, but I would love to continue to advocate for that. Something very cool that is going on with the Big Blue bus system now is they are going to be improving headways. So there's going to be buses coming more frequently on certain lines, and certain lines are going to be, the actual pathways are going to be more aligned and extended to where they need to go. We just got I'm on the Virginia Avenue Park Advisory Board, and we just got a presentation either last month or the month before about Brighter Blue, which is the improvements that are happening to the Big Blue bus. So I think continuing to support those efforts and seeing where we can push progress in those areas will let us achieve the short, medium, and long-term goals of our city's, values of being sustainable and progressive and inclusive and all of those other wonderful things that we want to live by.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Natalia, for joining us. Great to see you as always, and good luck on the campaign.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank
Bye.
you.